Hey, what's up? This is Chosen with Cho Fly Elite. My channel mainly covers Raid Shadow Legends while focusing on the analytics of how to play the game efficiently. I try my best to have a good blend of content to help beginners learn the game while also diving into the end game mechanics. I upload to YouTube and stream on Twitch every single day, so smash that subscribe button and I will see you around. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so for this video, I'm going to be taking a deep dive into the basics of the arena, which is the PvP aspect for Raid Shadow Legends. We're going to go over the mechanics of the arena, the styles of play, the champions that excel there, and how to build a successful team. Then towards the end, I will show you how I farm the arena up in Gold 4 and my thought process while I am doing so. And in order to get the most out of the PvP arena, it's very important to understand how buffs, debuffs, accuracy, and resistance all work as a mechanic. Firstly, when it comes to placing a debuff on the enemy, there are two different things that happen. There is a place of the debuff, and then there is whether it lands or not. So I've got one of my favorite champions in Ray pulled up to illustrate this. When we look at Ray's A1, we can see here attack all enemies with a 30% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. So when I talk about first, we have to get the placement. That is the 30% chance of placing a decreased defense debuff. Now, once we hit that 30% threshold and she attempts to place the debuff, now the game is going to decide if it lands or not based on Ray's accuracy and the opponent's resistance. So the higher of a spread that you have between your champion's accuracy and the enemy's resistance is the more likely and more consistent you will be at placing debuffs. Another thing I want to make sure to point out that I'm going to use another champion that I really love in Lysandra is that buffs and things that you do to allies are guaranteed and consistent, but things you do to enemies are going to require accuracy. And we can illustrate this by using Lysandra's Energize ability, which is going to be place a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns, fill the turn meter of all allies by 30%, and decreases the turn meter of all allies by 30%. So what I mean by this is the increased speed buff on all allies is guaranteed. You don't need accuracy for that. Filling the turn meter of all allies by 30% is guaranteed. You don't need any accuracy for that. Decreasing the turn meter of all enemies, though, you are going to need accuracy to land that. So Lysandra, you can build her with 0 accuracy and you'll still get the effect that she does to your allies, but if you want her to be consistent in terms of decreasing the turn meter of all enemies, you're gonna need to get her in a pretty decent amount of accuracy. So what I'm gonna do is show you a little chart that I put together that shows my recommended accuracy numbers broken down from the arena, dungeons, faction wars, and the clan boss. I do want to point out though that the arena numbers on the top left of that accuracy chart are very fluid. They are dynamic. It's PvP, so it really depends on the enemy team that you are going up against. That's just a general guideline. There is sometimes where you're going to need a lot more or a lot less accuracy. That's PvP, and it's wildly dependent on the opponent you're going up against. The dungeons, faction wars, and clan boss numbers are a little bit more stable because those are more static instead of being dynamic numbers. I will also make sure to place this accuracy chart down in a pinned comment, the video description, all that good stuff, so you can pull this up and take a look at it if you would like. When doing battle in the arena, there are a couple different styles you can decide to play. You can either go the speed style or the more defensive style. Now, when playing the speed style, you're going to want very high speed on your champions. You're going to want turn meter boosters to go ahead and fill up the meters of your allies. You're going to want debuffers to debuff the opponents. And then you're going to want nukers who come in and clean everything up to make sure and burst the enemy team down as fast as possible. Or you can play a more defensive style where you basically surrender the fact that the other team is going to go first. You absorb what they do. You maybe have a debuff cleanser to wipe the slate clean and get your champions back to normal. And then you're going to have very tanky champions that can absorb what your enemy is doing to you and basically outlast them to go ahead and have a slow squeeze type of win. So you may be wondering, how do I decide if I go for a speed team or a defense team? Which one's better? Which one should I choose? All that good stuff. Well, it is worth noting that speed teams are much more common than defense teams. A couple reasons for that is that as new players, it's much easier to acquire the speed pieces that you need to get high speeds because there is a stage of the campaign that drops the speed set, whereas it takes a lot more advanced setup and farming certain sets to make a good team that goes second, like the immunity set, for example, which drops in the Fire Knight, which is one of the tougher dungeons to progress in. So you can't farm the immunity sets and things like that in the campaign. We see speed teams a lot more common in the arena, but eventually you're going to hit a wall where you're like, these teams are so fast, it's hard for me to compete with them, and that might be an opportunity for you to start working towards a defense team. Also, in the 3v3 tag team arena, it's good to have a blend of both. You're probably going to want at least one team of each, a team designed to go first, where you can exploit certain teams you see in the tag team arena, and also a team designed to absorb and go second to exploit certain teams that you see in the arena. So it can all become situational and depend on what team you are going up against. Eventually, you will want to develop champions of both styles. I will show you examples of both these teams and how they function while I am doing battle in the arena. First, I will go over a speed team that I've got set up here and show you the thought process behind that and how it functions in the arena. So one thing I want to make sure you know is you can actually hold down on the enemy champions and it will pull them up so you can see what they do. That's very important when you're learning the game and you maybe don't know all the avatars and all the abilities yet. It's a great tool to set yourself up for success. So let's say I don't know what this Lizardman does right here. I can't remember who they are, what their abilities are. I can go ahead and pull them up by holding down on their character icon, and then I can see their skills. Oh, okay, this is Rosin Scarhide. These are their abilities, so that's what I need to prepare for. Okay, that will enable you to really know your opponent and what you're going to be going up against. So the first thing to talk about in a speed team is you're going to want to use a speed aura, and I purposely set my team up like this so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about and making sure you get the optimal aura. Both Lysandra and Arbiter have speed auras. I've got Lysandra in the leader slot, but you'll see here the aura is 24%. I'm going to want to hold down on my Arbiter and drag and drop her over to the leader spot because now you will see the aura skill updated to show 30%. So you can move champions around like this, swap them in and out, drag and drop them, and I want to do that to make sure I slot the Arbiter into the leader spot because she has the higher speed aura. Speed auras are very effective for speed teams that you're trying to go before your opponent. It's also very important to understand how speed tuning works and how it affects the order that your champions go in. So in that team that I'm showing you with the Lysandra, Arbiter, Madame Ceres, and Trunda, Lysandra is my fastest champion. If you pop the eye here next to total stats, you'll see 325 speed means that she is going to go first because she is the fastest champion on the team. Next in the rotation will be my Arbiter that I have going at 268 speed, who also boosts turn meters of the allies that I have to fill in the gaps so I don't get cut in, and she's also going to boost the attack of my champions so that my Trunda hits super hard. Third will be my Madame Ceres because you can see the speed is 231, and Ceres fills an extremely important role in the arena because she has an ability that removes buffs from all enemies. Anytime you've got a champion with an ability that steals buffs or removes buffs, it is very strong in the arena. Then last in the rotation is going to be my damage dealer, which is Trunda, because you will see here that the speed is 220, and you will notice that I've got her in a Savage set, which ignores defense. It's an extremely powerful set for a damage dealer, so really good sets for speed teams are going to be Speed, Divine Speed, Savage, crit damage, anything that helps you go before the enemy team, and then for your damage dealers to crank out the damage. Also, accuracy for your debuffers can help as well. So let's go ahead and fire up this match, and I will walk you through exactly what I am talking about here. Alrighty, so now we're going to find out who won the speed battle, and I did win the speed battle. Lysandra is my fastest champion, and then remember I pulled her up a little bit ago and showed her amazing Energize ability, which is going to boost the turn meters of my allies and decrease the turn meters of the enemies as long as she has good accuracy. So what I can do here is go ahead and hit auto. She'll default to her Energize ability. Now I've got my Arbiter here to increase the attack and the turn meters further. She does that on auto. Now I've got my Ceres, and I can choose which ability I want to do for her. I want to go ahead and use the decreased defense so that my Trunda is going to hit as hard as possible, and I can nuke the enemy team. There we go. Now I've got my Trunda to clean up going last as my damage dealer. Getting the proper rotation in the arena is extremely important. It's determined by the speed of your champions. So you want your turn meter boosters to be the fastest on your team, Then you want your debuffer, which in this case was my SUCESSS, to go after my boosters and debuff the opponents. Then I want going last my Trunda to clean everything up and go ahead and nuke them down. You do want to pay attention to the affinities of champions, because my Trunda, being magic affinity, she has a chance of hitting weak against this Rosin. So she's probably going to do really well against everybody but the Rosin. And there is that chance that she can hit weak because of the weak affinity. We can auto and she will burst them down, and boom, you can see that went pretty well. With my speed design team, as long as I go before my opponent, I've got everything set up in a nice rotation to burst them down. And if you play the speed style, that is going to be how a lot of your battles are determined, is whether or not your speed boosters and team in general has higher speeds than your opponents. Now let's go over a defense style team that I can use for success in the arena. You'll see here that the other team is still using a speed aura Terminator booster champion in the Arbiter, and they're going to be playing a high speed debuff nuke strategy, with the Skull Crown being the damage dealer nuker, the Stag Knight being the debuffer, and they're going to play the strategy that I just played the match before and try to go first, debuff me, and nuke me down. So what I can do as a counter to that is I can set up a leader that is defensive. You'll see here ally defense in all battles by 33% in my Torment. Then I've got my Ignatius, who is a defense sturdy champion that places AoE HP burn, which really synergizes with Torment. And then I've got my Hawkhorn Smashlord in an immunity set to absorb what the opponent does to me and then go ahead and cleanse those effects on my allies. I've got the Mountain King, who is very high HP, in a shield set so that he will place that shield on all allies so that I can sustain what they are doing to me. So I'll hit start and we'll see how this goes. The other team is obviously going to go first because it's a speed team versus a defense team. You'll see there, my Torment has a passive that has a chance to freeze them based on buffing and Terminator boosting. So you can see here that's very clutch, and it's a powerful tool if you're playing on defense. Now, like I said, we've got some debuffs here, but I've got my Hawkhorn Smashlord set up to be the highest speed, and he's in an immunity set, so he can't get debuffed unless they remove that effect. There was nobody on their team that was able to do that in the first round. So now you can watch all these debuffs that are in red on my champions. Boom, they are cleansed off and I am ready to go. Now I can go ahead and hit auto, and I can go ahead and have my champions kind of slowly squeezing them in a defensive style. I've got the freezes and the HP burns working in tandem with the Ignatius and the Torment, the toughness provided by the Mountain King, the debuff stability of the Hawkhorn Smashlord, and I'm going to be able to slowly squeeze them and outlast them in a defensive battle because they were set up to nuke and my team was set up to sustain. So now it is just cleanup on the Arbiter here, and we should do this within the next couple attacks. There it is, and that is how a defense style team can be successful in the arena. And I do want to also show you a fun version of the speed comp, which revolves around ally attack abilities from champions like Longbeard. You will see here with Horde's Fury, attacks one enemy with 4 allies, increases the damage inflicted by all allies by 20%. Now, these abilities, when allies join in on an ability like Horde's Fury, are gonna use their default abilities. So you can use champions that have AoE default A1 abilities to flood in with an ability like Horde's Fury and just completely blitz down the enemy comp. You get a Terminator booster that is very high speed. You boost up your champion like Longbeard that brings in Horde's Fury, and then you have 2 glass cannon DPSs that just burst down the opponents, and I will show you that in action as well. So here's a match that I've got pulled up with me using this blender comp, and you will see here as soon as my Lysandra boosts up my team, my Longbeard will cast Horde's Fury, and I will just rush in and burst down the opponents like so. We're gonna boost, here's Horde's Fury, then we have the ally attacks joining in from behind, and we are able to really knock down that enemy team as soon as possible. And there are also lots of non-meta teams that can do very well in the arena. I can't cover every single way to play the arena, or this video would be over an hour long, but I do cover lots of different types of teams on my channel. If you're interested in other stuff, I do have a video about a bomb squad, which is a champion that places bomb debuffs on the enemy, which can be very impactful if they have the time to detonate, or if you use champions that have skills that detonate bombs. Lord Shazar here is a great example of a bomb champion. And there are also champions that specialize in being single target priority snipers, where they either ignore defense or they block revive or they have massive damage abilities. Like Rotos here is a famous example of it. He attacks one enemy, even though it's not AoE, it ignores defense, it ignores block damage, ignores unkillable, hits extremely hard. It can be used to snipe priority targets. So the cool thing is there's lots of different ways you can play the game depending on what champions you have on your account, and there's lots of different styles of teams you can put together to see success in PvP. Alrighty, so that's going to do it for this video. I really hope that it helped to shed some light on the arena and how PvP works in Raid Shadow Legends. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it down in the comments. I will do my best to help you out. You can also stop by my stream where I am live 7 days a week trying to get to as many questions for you guys as possible. So that's going to do it for me. Thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.